Hey everybody, welcome to the Bad Reading Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Atlas Novak, and here with me today, kind of, in some sort of fantasy realm, it's Chris Hetlinger.
Hello! Got some orange juice. Oh, that randomly vanishes into the background.
That looked like you just pulled that shit out of Hammer Space. That was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
My Hammer Space orange juice.
And our guest today, she's the host at Flappers on Friday nights. Give it up for Amanda Cohen.
Hi guys.
Yay!
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I love the background you have going.
Yes, I'll be the background applause that you would have ordinarily gotten.
I've been spending a lot of time on Zoom, and sometimes this makes me feel more comfortable.
What, the TARDIS in the background?
Yeah, I just like knowing it's there to come and get me if I need it.
Yes, from quarantine. God, to another alternate universe where you can go outside without it being a problem.
We're just to another time. Just maybe several years in the future or even in the past.
Anywhere. No, you know what? Okay. So the question is always like, what would you do if you could go back in time? It's like, well, that depends. Am I still me, or am I going to age backwards as well? Because if I can go back and be like 25 again, I got a lot of stuff I need to fix. But if I'm going to go back like this, well, it's too late. So,
I mean, if I wanted to be 25 again, that's a year ago. So.
Oh, I hate you so much. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, but I was like 25 and 26 during the apocalypse. So.
Yep. You know what though? But you've got your whole life ahead of you. Some of us are worried we might not even survive this. So.
Yeah. The bigger you are, the less at risk you are, Atlas.
You get to tell your kids or your friends' kids that you survived. Whereas if I'm lucky, I get to keep my parents during this. So yeah. Boy, I brought that way down. That got real depressing. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's the time we're in right now.
It's a depressing time. Yeah.
And speaking of depressing, this show is brought to you by our patrons at patreon.com/badreadingpod. You can help support the show, and we'll have more details for you at the end. But we like to ask our guest, Amanda, what is something that you're into?
Well, I'm into Doctor Who mainly as a fan. As a participant, I'm into comedy. That's my deal. But as a fan of both Doctor Who and comedy, I have actually contributed to something to the fandom of comedy and Doctor Who both. Shall I tell you about that now, or do we want to?
Yes, please.
Okay, so, well, there's a book called Red, White, and Who, written by a friend of mine in Chicago. I lived in Chicago for 20 years. I'm actually in the book twice.
Wow.
First time because I wrote a song parody about Doctor Who. It was around the time of the 50th anniversary. There's a Weird Al song called Your Horoscope for Today, and it goes through the 12 horoscopes.
I love
that.
Well, I wrote a parody with permission from Al, and I actually was able to use the original recording of the song, so I just put my voice over it, and I wrote a song called Know Your Doctors. And it goes through at the time, 12 doctors. And to make it 12, I actually had to add Peter Cushing with a sort of a question mark. But
that was before he was confirmed?
That was, well, Peter Cushing occupies a weird place in Doctor Who because he did 2 movies that had Daleks in them, but he wasn't a Time Lord. He was just a dude named Doctor Who, and they called him Doctor Who like that, which never happens on Doctor Who in real life. But that was really fun. I'll send you the link to that. You can actually play it if you like.
Yes, please. That'll be in the show notes for people if they want to see that.
We'll put a link to it.
Excellent. Yeah, we can do that. Totally do that. So that happened. And a little bit after that, a friend of mine was she was doing a burlesque show, and I shall explain that. There was a series of burlesque shows in Chicago called Nerdlesque, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure my friend invented the word nerdlesque. And what they did was hour-long.
Please, me.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did that? Oh, no. Never mind. Continue.
Okay.
I'm trying to get background sounds to get minimized.
Oh, okay. Do you mind? We're trying to do history here. Where was I? Okay, so I can't prove that my friend invented the word nerdlesque, but I think she did.
Mm-hmm.
And what she did was she wrote a burlesque show about Mario Brothers. It was called Boobs and Goombas, and it was really fun.
What?
And it was so popular that she did a whole series of nerd-themed burlesque shows, because, you know, what do nerds want to see more than boobs? So there was... yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is a Pokemon Band-Aid, just to...
Look at you with your
Pokemon Band-Aid.
Or you can't really see it, but there's Bulbasaur there, upside down.
That's adorable. And that's weird, but that's adorable. I love it. I don't know if they did a Pokemon one, but I know they did all kinds of different superhero ones. They did a Walking Dead. They did...
Walking Dead?
Yeah, it was what was it? Oh, damn it! I can't remember the name.
Or did they do the zombies?
Well, no, the zombies. The big closing number was Thriller, not Thriller. Yes, Thriller. You know, zombies. It's perfect. You know.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They had a remix of it. It was great. No lyrics, just it's fabulous. It had great effects in it. Like they wheeled a TV on the screen, and they had a like a bar, and they just wove it over the person, made it look like an X-ray with the video. It was very funny, very strange. So anyway, they had all of these different ones, and about 3 years in, they wanted a Doctor Who one, and they had someone write it. And my friend, who was the director, came to me and said, "Okay, so somebody wrote us a Doctor Who burlesque. It's not good. Like it's bad." And they said the reason it was bad is because it sounded like fan fiction.
Oh no!
Yeah, and it was all like, "Why can't you love me, Doctor?" That kind of thing.
Oh my God!
And my friend is like, "You know Doctor Who, you have some time, right?" So I wrote a Doctor Who burlesque, and the theme of it was that it's burlesque, so it was all women, and there's a limit of 8 women per cast, so it's 8 people, and the Doctor suddenly materializes, and he's a woman, and he doesn't know why, and that's the mystery.
There you go. Like,
why are they all women?
Yeah, exactly. I would have thought that would be the first thing you do is like make him regenerate as a lady for a burlesque show.
So it was a burlesque show, and of course, and he's like, you know, this is wrong, fun but wrong. and that was 11, and then he's like, well, to sort this out, I have to go find my other selves. And then he goes back and he finds 10. And 10 is 10. The woman who played 10 was like a huge fan of David Tennant. And she's like, I don't even know if I can tell you. No, I'll tell you this. She actually said, "This is the first time I've gotten to play somebody I've masturbated to."
Oh my God.
Can I say that? Can
yes.
You say that?
Yes.
So that happened. And that was really fun. And then they go back and they get 9. And 9 has his. Oh my God! The companions were sort of composite, but obviously the 9th Doctor's companion was Lily instead of Rose, and we had her do her number to a Billy Piper song.
Oh my God!
Oh wow!
Yeah, that. If you
have Jack Harkness in it as a lady.
No, because God, was this before Torchwood? It was a long time ago. It was like, it was before the 50th anniversary. I know that.
Okay. I know that he came in when 10 was there, but he didn't have his own show yet.
Right. So he didn't have Torchwood yet. Well,
yeah.
Actually, you know what? I did meet his sister at an event in Chicago, and she was really sweet. And I actually have a photo. Hang on. I think I can get this off the wall real quick. There we go. This is, is that even going to work? That doesn't work.
Yeah. How about we'll I'll put it up on screen. Like, just send me a...
It's
Well,
so
that's
cute.
between John and Carol Barrowman, and couldn't be sweeter. But she said she would tell John about our show because he was going to be in town for a convention when it was on, and we created the Barrowman rule, which is that if any Barrowman wanted to see the show at any point, we would stage a special private production.
That's so cool.
They never took us up on it, but it was so fun, and I just got to put all my fandom and in-jokes in it, and oh, it was so great. And of course, we had the fourth Doctor as well. That was, I was limited to 4 Doctors.
Of course.
Not 4,
Is the fourth Doctor the one with the scarf?
Yes, he's very iconic, and if you're gonna have a burlesque show, you'll have him in there.
He takes off the scarf and
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I think he did one thing where he had his companion was Jane, and he did the whole roping in with the scarf thing. Oh, it was so fun.
Oh my god.
Was there a K9?
No, but I'll tell you about the TARDIS. When I got there 2 weeks ahead of time, they were rehearsing, and they were using a cardboard TARDIS, like that cutout. And I was like, people are paying money to see this, and they don't want to see a cardboard TARDIS. So I went to my basement, and I built a freaking TARDIS in my basement.
Nice.
It was just the front, and the doors had to open out for burlesque purposes.
Right.
It's like a full door size, and we used it for the show. It was on wheels. It was super fun. I had a working light. And then it lived in my house for many years, and now it's still back in Chicago because I couldn't put it on a truck and move it to L.A.
Oh,
that's a shame.
That's unfortunate.
I guess you could say I'm a pretty big fan of Doctor Who.
So, Chris, you found the story for this week.
I did. And I found a crossover between Torchwood and Doctor Who because I know that you like both of them.
Okay, I do, but on the set of Torchwood, nobody was allowed to say Doctor Who for grown-ups, even though that's exactly what Torchwood was.
Yep. In the timeline, let me just say this is before. I don't want to spoil it. Before the real sad episodes? Just put it that way.
Within the first 3 seasons, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, this is from Archive of Our Own. It'll be in the show notes for you to check out and to give the artist credit. You know how it is by now.
And by the way, to the artist, I apologize for anything I may say during this, but I will be harsh. So
you're more forthcoming than most guests. They're like, "What the fuck is wrong with this person?" Or
I'm gonna be straight up. Well, I might say that, but I'm just saying it comes from a place of love and support for somebody with this much love for Doctor Who and Torchwood. And that's, by the way, that's another thing in my collection. If you saw the 5th series of Torchwood, I have one of the masks. The 5th series was Miracle Day. They wore these white masks. They called them soulless masks. I have one autographed by the cast.
That's so cool.
She had sent a picture.
Yes, I sent you the picture of that. Yeah.
Of like it was the mask that was signed, and then you had like a screenshot from the series, and they're like, "See, it's real." I'm like,
"It's real."
I believe you.
So yeah.
So do you want to kick it off, Chris?
Sure. It's called The Right Touch. It's by Sahia. And the summary is, the doctor gets the flu. Jack frets. Ianto makes the bed. And then the notes are, many thanks to Fuzzy Boo for encouragement and help with my Ianto voice, and to Kiervin for A, solving my structural issues, and B, doing an awesome and fast beta job.
Okay, quickly. Excellent that you chose one about the flu now, during the corona.
Right, of course.
Also, it's pronounced Yanto.
Yanto.
Yanto. I mean, the I is barely there. It's Welsh. Yanto.
Yanto.
It's so hard to say.
Like it's almost
Yanto.
As if it was spelled with a Y. Yanto.
Yeah, pretend it's Yanto. Yanto.
Yeah.
Yanto.
There.
Gotcha.
God, I remember Yanto. Anyway.
Okay. Yanto is the first to notice something was off with the doctor. Jack hoped it was because Yanto noticed and cataloged everything and not because he himself had been obvious. True, the rift had been more active than usual lately, and he'd only spent about 3 hours in bed the night before, all prior to 3 a.m., when the rift alarm had gone off. It was just a weeble, nothing he couldn't handle on his own, and he told Yanto and the doctor to stay where they were. But that meant he was already in his office at 7:30 the next morning when Yanto made the relevant observations. He had trouble waking up this morning, Yanto told Jack, frowning. Jack sipped the cup of coffee he'd brought him, the first cup of the day, oh, sweet nectar of life, and raised his eyebrows. You know him.
So far, this sounds like a script written out as a story.
A lot of these do.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's difficult because a lot of, like, this is why I love reading novelizations of movies, backwards, because it's so obvious that they just took the script and wrote in some descriptions.
Yep.
Because you don't get anything from inside their heads. You don't get anything that wouldn't show on screen. And that's it. Like, you would never just say he raised his eyebrows. You would say he considered the implications of caffeine at this hour and drank it anyway. You'd have to know why he raised his eyebrows. So, okay, go on.
That's a keen observation on fan fiction that I haven't heard before, but it's really true, especially when it's fan fiction about a TV show. Not so much when it's fan fiction about a book, but we don't get a lot of that.
Well, no, because that already exists. It's the fiction, it's the book, but TV shows somehow are real to people, and therefore when you write some, it's one thing to write a script as homage fan fiction, but when you try to write it as a novelization, you have to be very careful of writing it scriptally, where you can't include anything that's not going to show on the screen, or else, like, you can't have this. The script would never say, nobody can tell, but he's actually in a lot of pain. It's like, well, you can't show that. You would have to say he's in a lot of pain and tries to hide it.
Yeah. You have to show and not tell when it's a script, and you have to, and you're not this restricted in the same way when you're writing a novel.
Right, and yet when people are writing novel style, when they're used to seeing it on TV, it's a hard switch to make.
Yeah.
The Jack kind of reminds me of, like, any office you work in. That one guy who not only likes coffee, because who doesn't, but he has to, like, make a show of liking coffee. Or he's like, oh, fuck yeah. I'm like, it's 8 a.m. Shut up.
Yeah, most of...
Go ahead, please. You're a guest.
I was just going to say, like, I think a lot of Jack's being into coffee was to, like, set him apart from the British.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Make him seem more American, is that...
Because he's the American, and everyone else...
The demon coffee.
Hey, Brits like tea. We crippled an entire empire for that tea.
Yes, we did.
Because opium wars. Good
Opium.
for them.
OT. All
right. OT? Are we going into OT? Did we go long already?
No.
Not quite yet.
Okay.
Right. Let's see. I can't do Yanto's voice very well, but we'll
Nobody can.
Another shot.
What does he sound like?
He's
Welsh, and he's dreaming.
I can try. I'm not going to do very well at it, though.
He's very, like, he's got that northern accent as well, on top of it being, like, very, like, demure. It's very hard to replicate.
Fuck.
Just don't worry about it.
Okay.
I can picture him. I can hear him in my head. So.
You know him. He always bounds out of bed the minute the alarm goes off. It's bloody annoying. You'd think he'd never heard of a snooze button. Doubt he'd see the point, Jack said with a smile. Yanto rolled his eyes.
He doesn't.
Oh, do you want to do him?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sure. He doesn't. I asked him once. He said recreational sleeping was too human even for him. But this morning he just rolled over and told me I could have the shower first. He was up and moving by the time I came upstairs, but sort of at half speed.
I should specify this. They didn't make it apparent in the first couple of paragraphs, which I feel like they should have in some way. But this is in which the Metacrisis doctor has come to live with Jack and Yanto instead of staying with Rose Tyler.
Yes, well, alternate universe, sure, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I just assumed as much, That was a large theme of Torchwood was Jack carrying a torch for the Doctor, who never actually shows up in the series. There's one where you think you might hear the TARDIS and you see Jack going, but that's about it. They never really, whereas Jack was on Doctor Who all the time, Doctor appeared on Torchwood.
I feel so bad for Jack. He just had a crush on the Doctor. Just give him something.
Yeah, but you know what? He got Yanto, so I'm not worried about that.
That's true. He does.
Captain Jack Harkness identified as a pansexual years before everybody identified as omni or pan or whatever. I mean, he was among the first super genderqueer Doctor Who characters, certainly. But the show has always been very, almost to a fault, accepting of sexualities and genders. And I think, at least for 10 for sure, the female fandom for 10 was massive, probably bigger than for 9, and definitely bigger than, maybe not big. I think when it was 4, it wasn't as well recognized. But in fact, there are whole freaking books about this, exploring how in the UK, boys like Doctor Who, little boys like Doctor Who. In America, gay men love Doctor Who because it was so campy and out there and honest. So it has a huge, huge gay fandom, and they really recognize that, especially when they brought along Jack Harkness to say what all the female fans were thinking. Looking at 10, it's like, so.
Did Doctor Who always have female companions, from the beginning?
He had male companions as well.
Yeah, he had some male companions. The first female one, though, was ostensibly his granddaughter.
Mm-hmm. And he was the first. When Doctor Who originally became a show, it was supposed to be kind of an educational show about history, and then it became
so much more.
Yeah, it became something else. And then I was reminded of there's an episode of Star Trek that's very reminiscent of Doctor Who, in which there's a character who is an alien who travels to Earth because of good intentions, and he needs something to happen, and then he leaves with a companion. And I'm just like, were they trying to do an American version of Doctor Who?
Was that a backdoor pilot or something, or?
I think it was supposed to be. There's no show, though. The show never existed after that, one episode.
I remember that one. Was that the character Gary Seven or something like that?
I don't remember his name, but there was a cat in it.
Yes, there was a cat in it. I remember that. And yes, that was kind of, they thought that might be a spin-off, and that didn't happen.
Sabrina the Teenage Backdoor 7. What?
Yes, precisely.
I was excited that when I watched that show, and my dad was like, yeah, they were trying to make a spin-off. I was like, there's going to be a show? And then he was like, no, they never made it. And I was like, no, why?
Now, bear in mind that Doctor Who had already been on the air for 4 years when Star Trek came along. So, it's been done.
That's true.
There has never been a real American version of Doctor Who, and we don't really count the Fox movie. Although Patrick McGann officially is the 8th Doctor, even though he only did that one movie. And it was set in the United States, but he was still British. So officially, there's never been an American Doctor, and I'm good with that.
That's fine. The Doctor is it's a British thing. They can have Doctor Who and James Bond. Those are property of the British.
They tried to make an American version of Red Dwarf, and there's somewhere out there in the YouTube world, there is a clip of some of the pilot with no laugh track. It's unbearable. It's truly unbearable. Yeah, I mean, it's so British. It has to be British. You can't have Lister and not have him be not Lister, Rimmer. You can't
Mhm.
have Rimmer not be British. That's like 90% of his personality.
Yeah.
Is British. So, yeah, you can't do that. But curious, is this fan writer an American or a Brit?
I don't
It
know.
doesn't
And I
say.
don't think there's any way to
I
tell.
bet they're American. I'll just bet.
I mean, we have, there are a lot of, I don't know why. There seem to be more, or at least that I've read, more American fan fiction writers, but maybe that's just the circles that I've been in are American circles because I live here in
Yeah.
America. So
Maybe it's an American trait to think you can make more of something that has already been perfected.
perhaps.
Yeah, pretty much. That fits, I think.
I want to hear more story, more story. I gotta let the story go for a minute now.
Okay. Um, where were we?
I just did the thing he does, and I asked him once.
Yes.
He said recreational
Okay.
sleep, blah blah blah, sort of at half speed. That was the last thing we said.
Okay. Jack rolled his chair back so he could look down into the hub proper. The rift predictor had blah blah. Oh my god, my voice. The rift predictor had said that today would be quiet. In the spirit of optimism, Jack had given Gwen the day off, so the doctor was alone on the floor. He was at his desk, Tosh's old station. Though Jack had managed to stop thinking about it that way. Most days. He looked a little unfocused. Not to mention, unusually frayed around the edges. The doctor wasn't quite as vain as Yanto, but his wardrobe had certainly expanded in the last 6 months. But he was still inclined to wear a blue suit during business hours, and his hair was always an artfully styled mess. Today, however, he seemed to
That's
have
the
gotten
10th
dressed.
Doctor. I can tell it's the 10th Doctor based on that description. Is it
Yeah.
10? Okay. Yeah.
It's 10.
Fun fact about 10. If he was in the future, he wore a blue suit. If he was in the past, he wore a brown suit.
I knew that one. I actually did that one. That was a super fun thing. I was like, what are we going to do today in this episode? And I would look at the color of the suit.
Well, I hope that I hope that this fan fiction writer knew that and is setting this somewhere in the future because he's wearing blue. He must be in the future.
Does the suit change color based on where he is, or does he just choose, I'm going to wear a blue suit?
Well, ostensibly he chooses, but you don't see the doctor getting dressed in the morning. Or actually, I don't think you see him sleeping ever. So I think at some point, it is well known that the TARDIS has a huge wardrobe.
Yeah.
So at some point he goes in and he changes, but we don't get to see that part. Because the only time you see the doctor naked is in the episode where he's accidentally cloned from his own hand, and Catherine Tate says, "You're naked," and he goes, "Oh yes." It's very funny, and that's as close to naked as the doctor ever gets.
I wish somebody would say that so matter-of-factly if they caught me naked.
Well, actually, he does. I mean, he actually says it twice because the first thing she says is, when he appears as this cloned version of himself with no clothes, she goes, "It's you," and he goes, "Oh yes," and she goes, "You're naked," and he goes, "Oh yes." Brilliant, understated doctorness. I just love it.
I know, it's great. I love that about British humor.
What, that it's just kind of like more subtle?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh
And
yes.
proper. Like, what do you do when this woman who's in love with you catches you naked by mistake? Ooh. Oh yes.
Was she in love with him, or was she in love with the adventures that she was having?
Little from column A, little from column B, but I mean, almost all the companions would fall in love with the doctor, and I think she was one of the first ones who, well, God, what was it? Donna? Donna was an interesting character in that she was the most demanding of being taken along as a companion.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And of course she was in love with the doctor, but like she was very happy to be friends with the doctor. And also, Donna Noble is the only person that Jack Harkness never hit on. Even when she offered herself to him, he's like, only person in the universe that Jack Harkness was not attracted to was Donna Noble. That's one of the reasons I loved Donna Noble. She was not like any other companion. She just, yeah, and that's why what happened to her in the end was, I don't want to spoil it. It was 10 years ago.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I always thought that what happened to her was so unfair.
It was. It had to happen.
What do you think is the upper echelon for not having to do spoilers anymore? Like when do you stop having to say?
I don't know, because people binge things now. It's not like, it's not like, oh well, everybody who saw it has seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spoil it. I really don't. I mean, it's easy to find out there, but I don't want to ruin it, because I know if somebody out there hasn't seen it and is catching up. Because when I have friends like, oh, I want to start watching Doctor Who. Where should I start? I'm like,
God.
1963?
Right, yeah.
Except there's a lot of episodes missing, and I mean, they work if you don't watch them in order until you get to 2005, in which case you kind of have to keep up.
Yeah. They started making the overarching stories at that point, and it stopped being as episodic.
Yeah. So I mean, but there are callbacks from 50 years ago that they refer to things that if you don't happen to know, and that's one of the things I like about it. As a fan, it's like it's got stuff like, he's making fun of Adric 40 years later, Adric, another spoiler. Okay, anyway.
I mean, the only reason I asked is I remember I worked a job in college, and I made some, like, Back to the Future reference, and the guy was like, hey, spoilers, I haven't seen it yet. I'm like, it's Back to the Future, man. Everyone's seen Back to the Future.
It's a little different when it's a movie, or, like, a movie trilogy, because movies are a lot easier to see faster. Like, there's so many hours of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And,
oh my God, yeah.
And, like she said, there's you don't really have a solid place to start. Like, you can start with the Ninth Doctor and then, like, sprinkle in some classic Doctor Who, or you can start with the classic Doctor Who, and then
I tell people to start with. I think for most people, your favorite Doctor is your first Doctor, and my first Doctor was 4, and so I say start with 4. Understand what it used to be, and then go to the Ninth Doctor.
I started with 9 because I think that was premiering when I was still of an age when I watched TV.
Remember TV? You guys remember TV? I remember TV.
Yeah.
You seen this? You heard about this? You watch TV? Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was still a time when I didn't, exclusively watch things on streaming services online.
Oh, none of that exists. Back in my day, it was literally whatever your antenna picked up. And, when I was in high school, we're going to go with high school, yeah. Our public TV station started carrying Doctor Who, and it wasn't first run, it was a couple years later.
Right.
But it was, looking back, now it was pretty close to first run. It was only a few years. And yeah, I stumbled across what happened to be the first episode of the Tom Baker series.
Oh,
and
wow. How lucky.
I wandered into, I watched, it was Robot. I mean, how's that for simplistic? Robot. It was the title.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the greatest thing on the frickin' planet. Who's that guy with the hair and the eyes and the nose? And I was instantly in love, and stuck with it as long as the station carried it. I think I gave up somewhere in the middle of Colin Baker.
Mm-hmm.
But then I came back hardcore.
It was, again, I went back and I watched the classic ones. Once I started watching, again, 9 was my first Doctor, so I watched all of 9, and then I started watching 10, and I got curious about what it used to be like, and then I went back and I went way back and I watched a few of, like, the really early ones, and then someone was like, watch 4, and I was like, okay, and I watched some of those, and I have a smattering of ones that I watched of classic Doctor Who.
Same.
Yeah, and then somewhere in 11, I stopped watching for a bit, and then I started watching a few of them after Moffat stopped being a writer.
Yeah, it was a little harder after that.
The way
Have you seen any of the current Doctor? The Lady Doctor?
I've seen one episode.
I've seen this many, 0, and I feel terrible because it's like a huge leap. And
Yeah.
it's like I have to get HBO or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
It's
right.
hard. It makes it difficult to watch. And in addition, like, I was really excited about it, and I was like, who's writing this? And I was like, not Moffat. I was like, yes!
I like
Yeah.
He's so good at writing when he has, like, a constrained bit of, like, maybe he's writing, like, a couple of episodes, or, like, a pair, or, like, 3 of them. Please don't give him seasons to write anymore. Please, BBC, stop giving them.
Again, I know kind of nothing about Doctor Who, so I'm just kind of like seeing where this goes for the most part. But also, Chris, when you said like someone told you to watch 4, I just imagined you're like in your bedroom and someone pops out of your laundry hamper. Watch 4. Okay, all right.
That's kind of how it was. They were just like very adamantly. They were like, "Watch 4 right now." And I'm like, "Okay, okay."
4 was that was when they started showing it in the United States. So for Americans, usually 4 is the first one.
Yeah.
And that's included in my song, Know Your Doctors.
In the show notes. Yeah.
Okay, go back to the story. I gotta know what happens now.
An artfully styled mess. Today, however, he seemed to have gotten dressed with his eyes shut. He wore a jumper, one of Jack's own, if he wasn't mistaken, and jeans, and his hair was completely flat, as though he hadn't done anything to it at all. He cradled a cup of tea against his chest and stared at one of the monitors, but didn't look like he was actually doing anything.
Ah, yes, I'm totally doing work for real. I have this email open that I've typed to whom it may concern, but nothing else.
The thing that Atlas has perfected.
Oh yeah, it's I've taken many cues from George Costanza and friends. Always look annoyed. Maybe open an email that you've already sent and be like, yes, I'm just reviewing this. Okay, they're gone. Back to Minesweeper. Or Solitaire, or whatever you do to waste time at work.
I wish I had that little to do at work. Anyway, he cradled a cup of tea against his chest and stared at one of the monitors, but it didn't look like he was actually doing anything. So he's not as good at pretending as you are, Atlas. A lot was different for this doctor. The single heart, for one thing, and the need for 6 to 8 consecutive hours of rest each night for another. But one thing is still true.
Wait a minute. Why did this doctor only have one heart?
This one is... I think they assume that this doctor, like the Metacrisis doctor here, is human and not a Time Lord.
So he's Peter Cushing. See, if he's not a Time Lord, then he's not really the doctor. He's just
he's not the doctor. He's the clone. Also a human, I guess. No. Again, it wasn't explained, but this is what I'm assuming.
In the Torchwood universe, the Doctor is the Doctor. Mm-hmm. I mean, if he just wanted a character based on David Tennant, that's fine. He should have written that. But why would he make it the Doctor and not have it be the Doctor?
Because it's the clone, I guess.
Because it's fan fiction.
Even the clone has 2 hearts. He's the Doctor.
Yeah. Was he limited to 1 human lifespan? I don't recall.
No. Why would he have ever had 1? Oh, you mean his life?
Yeah, no. His clone.
Oh, the clone. Well, the clone...
Because that's what this is. The Doctor is supposed to be the clone, and they're still calling him the Doctor because... The clone
went off to live with Rose?
Yeah, so they're saying that in this one, instead of going off to live with Rose, he came to live with Jack and
Oh, yeah, that's likely. It's
yeah.
No, there's no reason that would have been anything other than the Doctor with 2 hearts. Anywho, so it's the wrong... Anyway.
They got the wrong guy, I guess.
They got the wrong guy. But okay, so we're saying that's the Doctor, even though that Doctor never existed in any universe at all, much less any of the Doctor Who universes. But okay, I see where they're going with this, so go on.
Okay. one thing is still true. The doctor, motionless and without the direction, was a danger to innocent bystanders.
Could be nothing.
Yanto said after a while. Could be. I'll keep an eye on him. Jack rolled his chair back towards his desk. You have archiving to do today, don't you? Yanto grimaced.
Yes. I haven't had time between riff spikes and everything's been piling up.
He sighed and stole a sip of Jack's coffee.
So wait, he's like, just reach over, grab coffee cup, take sip, put back.
Haven't you ever done that? Like when you live with a significant other and like you need coffee and you need it then, and you've made their coffee already and you've made it to the specifications that you know they like and you like it too, and you're just like, I want some coffee and I don't want to make my own, and you just like take some of their coffee.
No.
Yeah, that's an intimate thing that happens.
Yeah,
I
mean, I've had that happen plenty of times.
It happens on TV anyway.
I mean, I've never lived with a significant other before. I've stayed over at...
It's overrated.
Oh. I mean...
I don't know, I like it. You have someone else to share the... Although, to live with me, I understand, is probably difficult because I have real bad ADHD, and I see now how that could be challenging.
Well, just like, what are you doing? It's 3 a.m. Can't sleep. I just can't sleep.
Can't sleep. I'm writing. That gif, like, of the like. Tick, 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 tick.
Oh, the gif of Jim Carrey, where he's like,
Yep. That's me at like 3 a.m. when I can't sleep and I have like hyper focus on something. Researching. Anyway, back to the story.
Stole a sip of Jack's coffee.
Yes, magnanimously, because he hadn't quite forgotten the spectacular blowjob Yanto had given him the night before. Jack allowed him. Hopefully things will stay quiet enough for today for me to get some of it done. Oh wait, that was you.
It's fine. Hopefully things will stay quiet enough for me. Whatever. You just heard it. Continue.
Jack reached up. 2 fingers
Wait. Back the hell up. Did I hear the phrase blowjob in
magnificent
a
blowjob
story?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all implied. They never say any of that. Now, maybe I haven't read the right fan fiction, but I've never heard that direct a reference.
I mean,
anywho, keep going.
That's third-person narration for you. They can do dumb shit like that.
Is it, though? Okay.
It's not fan fiction. If there's one thing fan fiction is not, it is subtle. It's never subtle.
I guess you're right. Yeah. Well, Torchwood had subtleties. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Torchwood had subtleties, and Doctor Who had subtleties. I mean, there were some jokes there, and some things that they said that were a reference to things that children who were watching would not get, but adults would.
Yeah.
So, I'll give this one to the author. Okay, Jack reached up, hooked 2 fingers behind the knot of Yanto's tie, and pulled him down for a kiss. Go archive. I'll take care of the doctor. Yanto looked a little dubious. Jack decided not to point out that his experience in doctor handling far exceeded Yanto's. To be fair, much of what had been done with had been with an entirely different doctor, and Yanto had shown a lot of talent in this area over the last 6 months. But it seemed the archives...
Is they saying Jack fucked a different doctor?
No, I think they're just saying that he had more experience with 9 than he did with 10. Like,
okay. Yeah, I must have been still thinking blowjobs, and that was like.
I'm gonna put that on the thumbnail. Must have still been thinking blowjobs.
I did, to my knowledge. As much as Jack wanted to hook up with the doctor never obliged him.
No, the doctor never went there.
He never went there with anyone.
No, he did not.
I saw. The closest...
He was married.
Was
How far along have you gotten?
I
nowhere.
was
Literally nowhere.
Somewhere in 11. Did he get married before that? Or after that?
Well, okay, do you remember the episode The Library?
Oh, yeah.
where this strange woman says, "I'm your wife," and then of course he has to figure that out.
Wife, so she's well, we
You
all know.
have to keep watching. It's literally years later when he's she comes back a few times, but she's there pretty regularly for Capaldi, and they actually have a honeymoon on a
Oh.
planet where the nights last several months, and that is stated outright. And so, yeah.
Okay, so that was after I stopped watching.
Yeah, they there's an episode called "The Doctor's Wife," which is not about.
That's totally that I buy is his wife though. That one.
That's more accurate. But later on, he actually is. He's married.
And then the plot twist turns out to be it's just a woman gaslighting him into thinking that.
No, actually, she married him because she had to murder him.
Oh, as you do.
As you do. Yeah,
good,
and then
good for her, I guess.
She spends the rest of her life in jail, but she also has she has the same thing that Jack has, which is a sort of a down and dirty time travel machine that you wear on your wrist.
Yeah. Well, I really liked the episode where with his wife. I think that episode was written by Neil Gaiman.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Which was great, but his Cyberman episode was not. Very sad.
That's fair.
If you guys could, if you had a one-time machine usage, what would you go back and fix or witness, or what would you use it for?
I would go back in time and tell my grandfather the appropriate stocks to invest in instead of the stocks that he did invest in.
Oh.
Damn. Yeah, I think I would go back and tell college me, you're not fat, start exercising.
Oh man, I wish you and me had been friends in college because we probably would have been friends. I could have gotten you to work out, and you could have gotten me to chill out and not work out as much.
You know what? It goes both ways. Yeah. No, I thought in college I was fat, and why bother? And I never got like really down with a routine. And now I see photos in college. I'm like, I was dangerously thin, and I really thought I was fat. Not fat enough to be anorexic or anything like that. But I appreciate your health when you're young, kids, and
also
maintain it because it goes away.
You're not fat, and even if you are, it's not a permanent state. You can always change things. Yeah, see, but nobody told me that in college, and I wish somebody had. And and it's harder when you get older. So yeah, that's probably what I would have done. But that would have involved interacting with my former self, and as we all know, that's extremely dangerous in time travel. Mm-hmm.
Right. You probably have to disguise yourself and be like, I'm someone else.
I like to think I'd recognize me. Oh, I'd probably think I was some long-lost aunt or something. I don't know. That's a good question. Would I? Oh, maybe I went and I forgot and I didn't know.
Perhaps.
Maybe I haven't gone yet, so I don't know, but I don't remember because...
And therein are the three ways of time travel you can go. You can go the Bill and Ted route where everything has already happened and it's set in stone and nothing changes. You can go the Back to the Future 1 route where you can change the past and you can accidentally mess up the future in the process, but you change the past and it changes your present. And then you have the Dragon Ball Z route where you can change a future, but not your future, and it diverges timelines from wherever you go and you interfere with the past. Those are the three types of time travel that I have seen in fiction.
I'm going to recommend a movie to you. It's not really a movie. It's actually sort of like a TV show. I think it was made for TV. It's called The History of Time Travel. And it is I'm not even going to try and describe it. I'm going to say it's a documentary about the history of time travel, and is 100% dead serious.
Oh my god.
Until it isn't.
Oh.
And you watch it, and I there's a point at which I went, what, didn't they just say a different? And then I watched it twice, and I got it the second time. So freaking good. If you're into time travel theory, you need to watch this movie. It's on Amazon. The History of Time Travel. It is so good.
They will make documentaries about anything. There's a documentary about the knuckleball, the pitch from baseball. There's an entire documentary about that.
Yes, but you see, that exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The history of time. You have to. Yeah.
So it's not like a history of time travel, like storylines
science fiction. No.
Nope. Just actual time travel.
It's actual history of time travel.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to see it.
It is so good. It was made a few years ago. I missed it when it happened. Like I said, it looks like, anyway, it looks like it was on the History Channel. It's perfect. And if you're into
they're not trolling. They're like earnest in there.
They're what?
Earnest? Well, like they're trying to be serious?
You have to watch it.
Oh my god.
I don't want to spoil it, but just watch it and know that it is perfect. That's all I can say. As a time travel history, it's perfect. That's all I can say.
All right.
There was something that a comedian said recently that was like, oh, the time we're living in right now is proof positive that we have not had time travel ever figured out ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then someone was like, but what if someone really important in the future was conceived during COVID times when they wouldn't have been otherwise? And they're like, okay, fine, I guess.
Okay, all your questions will be answered when you watch The History of Time Travel.
I thought there was the thing where Stephen Hawking held like a party for time travelers, and then he sent out the invitation afterward, after the party was over.
Did anybody show up?
No.
Because in our timeline, time travel doesn't exist. See what I did there?
I should like chop the episode up and then like shuffle it around, and then people are like, oh, it's like time travel, or like make it cyclical or something.
This is one of the reasons I love science fiction, because it's stuff that for the most part is impossible, but wouldn't it be neat if?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if?
I mean, most science fiction, it's like the dangers of technology out of control.
Oh, yeah.
And you're
Not necessarily. Science fiction can be mixed with any genre in whatever way you want it to be. You can have science fantasy, in which you get Star Wars. You can have science thriller, in which you get Alien. You can have science action, in which you get Predator or Aliens. You can have science western, in which you get Firefly or Cowboy Bebop. So, did you always get like Black Mirror horror?
I would also
sometimes.
I consider Firefly is science fiction, but it's almost closer to steampunk, which is a genre of science fiction that I really love. In fact, there was a new series last year called Tales from the Loop.
I've heard of that. I haven't seen it.
It was literally based on a series of paintings. And I looked up the painter, and I wish I could remember his name. But they're amazing. And I came up with a new word to describe them. They're electropunk. They're post cyberpunk. They're post diesel punk. They're post steampunk, pre cyberpunk.
Okay.
Post diesel punk.
There's a timeline for all of this, like.
There is.
Oh yes, and I decided I don't even know if it exists, but they're electropunk because it's got electric robots, not electronic robots, electric robots, and it's they're very clunky and there's power lines everywhere, and it's just this wonderful alternate reality where robots are just a thing that somebody's working on, and they get abandoned in the woods, like old cars or buses. There's robots out there.
Sad.
It is, but oh my God, what a freaking great show! So, yeah, I have no use for reality. None. I have none. I have very little. One of my favorite expressions that I ever heard was, "Reality is for people who can't handle science fiction." And
That's a great line.
there's a I don't know if it's a production company or just a channel or what. There's this thing called Dust. Have you seen Dust? Like it's a channel on the Roku, and it's nothing but science fiction shorts. That's all it is. 100% science fiction shorts. And some of them are somebody's sizzle reel, like they made a demo to sell a bigger project, or student projects. It's like, this is an exercise in animating robots. Here's an exercise in, the kind of fighting where people go slow motion, Matrix fighting, that kind of thing. But it's all science fiction, and like I could watch that for frickin' days. I have just sat.
One, and I saw one on YouTube that somebody sent me.
Yeah.
Don't remember, because I've seen so many science fiction shorts that I don't remember which of them it is that came from that specifically.
Well, I kept seeing a bunch of them on YouTube, and they were all coming from Dust. And I went to Dust, and as it were, and it's all over the world, all kinds of shorts from all over the world. Some of them are incredibly funny, some of them are just unwatchable. The unwatchable ones tend to be French. I don't know, something about French science fiction. And I apologize, Jules Verne, but French science fiction doesn't do it. Yeah, a little bit. There's a lot of like, it's dubbed. It's like, she told me she did not want to take a photo. A photo is all I had, but she took that away. And it's like, hardly science fiction.
You swine.
The effects are science fiction. Anyway, let's go back to this story.
Oh my God.
After the story, there was a reason.
All right, let's see.
Yanto looked a little dubious. Jack decided not to point out that his experience in doctor handling far exceeded Yanto's. To be fair, much of that had been with an entirely different doctor, and Yanto had shown a lot of latent talent in this area of the last 6 months. But it seems the archived siren song would not be denied. Jack rolled his chair back over to the window to watch Yanto cross the hub to the entrance to the archives, pausing to say something to the doctor. The flutter of fingers the doctor gave in response was almost listless. Not good. Not good at all. Jack's hands tightened on the edge of his desk as his brain immediately spat out the good baker's dozen of things that could be wrong with the doctor. Physiological complications from being an unprecedented human Time Lord metacrisis, and or depression at being grounded and stuck on the slow path for the remainder of his very mortal life, something Jack had been expecting to hit for months now, were only the easiest to imagine. He wasn't the only one having these thoughts, it seemed. Yanto looked up and caught his eye. Jack nodded and made a shooing gesture toward the archives. He gave it 10 minutes, once Yanto had vanished into the depths of the hub. Then he shoved the paperwork into more or less even stacks on his desk and bounded down the stairs.
"Morning, Doctor," he
said cheerfully. The doctor visibly attempted to straighten up and pull himself together. Oh my God. "Good morning." Jack leaned in for a kiss. The doctor obliged, albeit without much enthusiasm. Another tick in the worry column. Jack perched on the edge of the doctor's desk, close enough to be distracting. Have you looked
outside today?" he
asked, picking a piece of tech up off the doctor's desk and tossing it from one hand to the other. The doctor glanced up at the roof of the hub, high overhead, and then gave Jack a look.
"Right, well, me neither. But according to the CCTV, it's beautiful out, and probably the last we'll see of the sun for a while. You want to go get breakfast somewhere near the water? We can bring Yanto back a chocolate croissant and lure him out of the archives."
Jack was pretty sure it wasn't his imagination that the doctor suddenly looked a bit pale. I don't think so. The doctor plucked the tech out of Jack's hands and set it gingerly on the desk. Lots to do today.
Yeah? Because I was just watching you sit here for 20 minutes and do nothing.
The doctor stiffened and Jack held his hands up.
Whoa, I wasn't criticizing. I'm just surprised. You never do nothing. I didn't even know you knew how.
I wasn't doing nothing, the doctor said with a glare. I was thinking. Hardly a remarkable event, although I'm not surprised you couldn't recognize it. Now I have a great deal of work to do, and I can only hope the bloody rift will give me time to do it, if you please. He pulled his specs out of his pocket, put them on, and leaned in to poke at the tech. Jack knew that he was licked, and not in the fun way.
That was in there.
What?
Did you add that, or was it in there?
No, that's in parentheses, and not in the fun way. He sighed and removed himself back to his office, where he called Yonto. Any luck? Yonto asked.
None. He's grouchy and defensive, and he turned down food.
That isn't good. Do you want me to come back up? Jack leaned...
Oh, I'm sorry. Right, you're reading now.
Jack leaned back to look up at the doctor. He was still poking at the tech, but if Jack wasn't mistaken, all he was doing was removing and replacing the same component over and over.
Not yet,
he said.
I don't think he'll take kindly to it. Give it a couple of hours. I'll let you know if anything changes.
Jack had reams of paperwork to catch up on himself, and he actually managed to get a bit of it done over the course of the morning. He was reviewing the last communique from their unit liaison when he glanced up and saw the doctor swallow once, then twice, hard enough to be noticeable. He was signing off on a stack of requisition forms when he clearly observed the doctor lean forward and pull at his temples. I almost read that as nipples. What?
Gotta interrupt here. I just saw Chris yawn a little. I have to say, never on any episode of Torchwood ever did you see Jack doing paperwork. That's just not part of the action. I'm sorry, but this is... I get that the writer is stalled. Why do the characters have to stall? You come back to it when you have some action.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, literally nothing happening right now, barely even speculation.
I just imagine him like, all right, so what do I put on my W-2?
Or whatever the British version of W-2 is.
Good point, they probably do. Well, maybe he has dual citizenship. Who knows? But
that's true, because he's... Well, I don't know. He's dead, right?
Who?
Like, legally? Jack Harkness. He would have to be dead.
Well, legally, Captain Jack Harkness died in World War II.
Right. So he doesn't have a W-2. So he
has no identity at all, no.
He may have it. He doesn't have a W-2. He died in WW2.
Yep.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Boom! Okay, and with that, let's continue.
Okay. Pull at his temples. And he was filling out the Weekend Rift watch duty roster for the next 3 months when the doctor pulled the sleeves...
Never see him do. I'm sorry. That's like, I've always been fascinated by the administrative processes of Torchwood. Said no fan ever. Okay.
Yeah, I maybe he just wants to know. He's like, hey man, I got to see what, who you got planned for Saturday. Otherwise, I got to call in a replacement. God damn it, your grandma died. You really put me in a tough spot.
Yeah, well, at a certain point, it just becomes who's still alive.
Oh, I'm so sad. That's true.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry, go on.
Hang on. Temples, and he next 3 months when the doctor pulled the sleeves of his jumper down over his hands and gave a visible shudder. That was it. It had been 104 minutes since he'd talked to Yonto. Jack was not letting this go on any longer.
He's sick,
Jack said blandly the moment Yonto answered.
He's got a sore throat, headache, and chills.
Did he tell you that? Jack laughed shortly.
What do you think?
All right, well, it's probably just flu.
We hope it's just flu. It could be anything. It could be, oh God, Yonto, what if he doesn't have an immune system? It's a brand new body. What if he can't fight it off?
And they still didn't have a doctor. Damn it! Jack knew he needed to hire one, but new people were so much work. The doctor was normally very good at juggling both the tech and the medic positions, but that was when he wasn't the one in need of a medic. Jack, Yanto said in his I'm being patient but it won't last forever voice, he's been here 6 months. If he didn't have an immune system, we would know it by now. It's called flu season for a reason.
But
I'm coming up. Let me handle it, all right? At least until we get him to admit that he's ill.
fine.
Jack said, reluctantly. He removed his headset and stood to crack open the door to his office, grateful for once the acoustics in the acoustics in the hub. Typo. They made having a quickie almost impossible. Since 21st century sexual mores randomly dictated that... Why is it sexual mores?
Mores.
Mores. Oh, like...
Mores. You know the word moral? It comes from that. It's the same root word. Mores. Yeah. It's spelled like more, but a more, unlike the eel, a more is like a social norm.
Yeah.
Oh, like that's amore? Like that? Or...
Not at all.
No.
Amore is Italian for love, but more is like it's like a taboo.
Got
it. It's like the opposite of a taboo. It's like the opposite of a taboo.
I just learned a new thing today because
because fan fiction.
Yeah, because fan fiction, or just the the thing last week where it's like it was probably just the wind, dear. Oh, I've only seen that word written. You know,
like that, yes.
Yeah. Sexual mores randomly dictated that no one was supposed to know you were having sex while you were having it, but they were great for eavesdropping. Yanto, it seemed, had decided to go with the stealth approach. Not that it did him much good. Jack could tell from the way the doctor's posture went from huddled ball of misery to no, really, I'm fine, that he heard Yanto approaching. Jack waited, interested to hear what Yanto would choose as his opening gambit. Nothing, it turned out. He laid his hands on the doctor's shoulders before running them down his spine and back up again, settling at last into a steady massage.
Okay, is this going to end up as a three-way with... is this the Torchwood three-way? Is that what we're heading for?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that's off-screen implied, but I don't think it's going to happen here.
Then what's the point of this? Okay. Okay, sure. So, fine. Sure, why not? Nobody touches the doctor like that. You just don't. I don't care if you're Yanto. You don't do that.
The doctor slumped forward over his desk, letting his head hang as Yanto worked his way in from the doctor's shoulders, up his neck and into his hair. Yanto kept it up for 5 silent minutes. Then he wrapped his arms around the doctor from behind, tucked his chin over the doctor's shoulder, and said something so softly that Jack couldn't hear it at all. He did hear the doctor's answer. "I'm all right," he said, voice rough. Your glands are swollen and you're running a fever. And don't tell me you aren't," Yanto added a bit sturdily. I just spent 5 minutes touching you." The doctor pulled away. "I don't get ill." Yanto glanced up at Jack, who shrugged. No good way to handle that, but he thought it'd go over better coming from Yanto. Yanto straightened up and leaned against the desk, one leg over on either side of the doctor's. Wait.
What?
Straightened up and leaned against the desk. So his legs are like this?
I guess so.
Is he sitting on the computer keyboard?
Is he sitting on the doctor's lap?
Like a cat.
Or like kind of like straddling it. I mean,
let's just see where this goes.
I guess.
Yanto said.
He reached down to take both of the doctor's hands in his. "No," he said very gently. "You don't get ill," he shrugged. It's all right. Happens to the best of us. Not to Jack, though," he added with a smile. Make of that what you will." Oh, that was Yanto, sorry. The doctor didn't even crack a smile. "I feel so strange. Is this how humans feel when they're ill? I'm not in pain, except for my throat. I just feel terrible," Yanto finished. He reached out and brushed the doctor's fringe back. "Come on, let's take a trip to the med bay and rule out anything alien so Jack can stop freaking out." The doctor frowned. "Jack's freaking out? You didn't notice him watching you like a hawk all morning?" The doctor cast a self-conscious glance up at Jack's office. Jack shrugged, unapologetic, and stood. No need to eavesdrop now that his cover was blown. It's, you.
That's the doctor.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
No, he heard the doctor say as he jogged down the stairs. I didn't. That's not at all like me. Yanto squeezed his shoulder. Medbay, let's go. The faster we do this, the faster we can have you tucked in bed. The doctor sighed. All right. He stood and suddenly wobbled. Jack covered the last 5 feet to his side just in time to get a hand under his elbow. The doctor tensed. Jack felt him about to draw away, unsteady though he was. But at the last second he relented, melting into Jack. Jack turned his head and kissed the doctor's temple. It was slightly damp and much too warm. I think that's Jack.
Jack is slightly damp.
I must admit, bed sounds remarkably pleasant right now.
Damn,
I think that was
the doctor. Fuck. Okay, well, that's a chapter break, and I think we're gonna stop right there, just because...
Make it stop.
Make it stop. What'd you think?
I think that the writer is in love with John Barrowman, David Tennant, and forgive me, I forget who played Yanto. I don't think this has very much to do with Torchwood or Doctor Who.
Gareth David Lloyd.
Say again?
Gareth David Lloyd.
Gareth David Lloyd. That sounds familiar, yes. Okay, you win. No, you win.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Oh, okay. You looked it up. Well, still, pretty impressive. Yeah, I think this writer is into those three dudes getting together. Not, I hear puppies. Hi, puppies. Not into actual Torch, because so far there's been no actual Torchwood business, other than the paperwork, which is not very Torchwood. But I mean, yeah, I imagine that there's thousands and thousands of fanfics just like this in many formats, because they were incredibly hot dudes, you know. I can totally see that, but yeah, I didn't get a lot of Torchwood.
Didn't get the real Torchwood or Doctor Who vibes.
I got, well, definitely not Doctor Who. The Doctor only had one heart. Come on.
I mean,
yeah,
we didn't get super far into the story, so I think maybe
I interrupted you so much that we have no idea how this. You want to read ahead and let me know if there's any, story in there, any science fiction that comes up.
I mean, if the listener wants to, read the rest of the story, or you do, links in the show notes, and I'll send it to you after. But I would say, what would you punch up from what you saw so far?
Up.
Yeah.
Well, a normal drama might start with somebody waking up, and that's the start of the day, and therefore the start of the story. But I think Torchwood was more likely to start in the action, or in the action of the thing that precedes what the action of the story is. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think a more, with some mystery to it, like they're running across a field and somebody is shooting at them from somewhere and you don't know why. And they finally make it to cover and say, oh, well, I didn't know this would happen. Well, this happened because that happened. Well, aren't you silly? And then they continue running, cut to, they finally make it back to the hub and say, well, at least this happened, we're safe. And, oh, what's this? A new piece of tech has appeared. And then
they don't have a lot of slice of life in Doctor Who or Torchwood, and I think that's what the fanfiction writer was going for.
Oh, and they wanted that. Oh my God! Let's take the boring part that doesn't exist in science. That's why I prefer science. I won't go see a rom-com or any of that baloney. I don't want to see slice of life. I don't want to see people choosing which man. I don't like any of that. I want a story. I want tech that doesn't exist, and I want a story that revolves around that tech, and maybe some humans are involved, with actual feelings and shit. But I don't have time for that. I just give me the story. That's, again, one of the reasons I like the short movies on Dust is like, they're all middle acts. It's like a movie with no beginning and no ending. It's just the middle where shit gets real. You don't know how they got there, and you don't know how they're going to fix it, but shit got real, and that's the part I like. So I like it when Torchwood starts with shit being real or getting real, or and then the story unfolds as they're dealing with the tech. Nobody starts with the paperwork. I'm sorry,
or if they do start with paperwork, it's because like someone blows up the office and they're like, "Oh shit, someone blew up the office." You gotta.
Yeah, if you recall, someone blew up the office. I mean,
Yeah,
that does happen eventually.
it does.
Spoilers.
Spoilers for something that you probably could have guessed would have happened in the show the moment you started watching it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't understand why this particular fan fiction writer went for the parts they never show, because that's not what the show is about. Maybe I don't understand fan fiction.
I mean, who does really? It was probably because it's the parts you never show. They're like, oh, let's see what that's like, and it's not
That
super
is,
interesting.
yeah, that is one of the veins of like fan fiction where they specifically go for what happens off screen that we don't see. So
Yes, but the reason it doesn't appear on screen is because it's not part of the universe. I mean, like on Firefly, you very rarely see them, figuring out the new coordinates, because it happens. Just they tell the guy to do it, and he does it.
I mean, on Firefly, you rarely see anything because it was like
you do
a
see them
season.
eating.
You see them eating sometimes.
Yeah, because that's something that regularly happens on the ship. Yeah, you don't see Wash doing like calculations because ostensibly the ship does it for him.
Here's the thing I never liked. Okay, I mean, I guess I understand it, but like, you have these beautiful, toned, fit people, and you never see them spending 4 hours working out.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, they would have to work out, especially. Yeah. I think you see Jane like doing push-ups once.
Yeah.
One time.
Yeah.
Or you never see anybody using the bathroom because no one. It's not interesting or important to the story. It's just they're fit. It's fine.
I do wish that they showed that there was at least a bathroom on the ship. Like when a new character comes, just to be like, bathroom's that way, or just point to it and be like, because that's important. That's something that I would want to know.
Cowboy Bebop, they have a bathroom on the ship.
Yeah. Where is the bathroom in a house, or where is the bathroom in this place that I'm going to be living? This tiny little metal case. I want to know where the bathroom is immediately.
Well, the bathroom is a tiny little transporter that sends your poop to another planet. The planet of poop. And they're like,
Uranus, probably. Yeah. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on Bad Reading this week. The perfect thing to end on.
Thank you for expanding my knowledge of bad fan fiction. And again, writer, I apologize, but keep trying.
Where can people find you, follow you out there?
Well, if after this anyone still has any interest in seeing what I do, I have a website, because I'm old-fashioned, www.amandacomedy.com. That's amandacomedy.com. I'm on the Insta and the Twitter as @AmandaCohen27, all one word, Amanda Cohen 27. Since the COVID, I'm touring in my chair right now. So,
as you do.
Yeah, if you go to my website, you'll see the shows I'm doing. Most of the shows right now are at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank, except from home. So, I host one of the rooms on Friday nights, and that's fun. And that's kind of where I am right now. Right here.
And if you want to find me, I am on Twitter, Instagram, stolen_relic. And if you want to watch me and my dog interrupting me constantly while I stream video games, you can look at Scruffle Kerfuffle on Twitch, and if you know how to spell kerfuffle, I realize retroactively that might have not been the name choice.
Kerfuffle. Kerfuffle.
There you go. You got it. So if you want to watch me stream, come to Twitch.
And then you can follow me at Atlas Novak on Twitter and Instagram. Novack. I realized I never clarified that before.
Yeah, there is another one out there. I found out.
Yeah. Oh shit! Really? There's an Atlas Novak with just.
There's a Novak with a K, and it's you.
Yeah. It's Novack. Anyway, so there's that, and then you can follow this show at Bad Reading Pod in those two same places. Or if you want to support the show, you can check out patreon.com/badreadingpod. You help us support the show. You get access to stuff like the Discord server, or helping us vote on the fan fiction we pick every week to read to our guests. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Stay safe, wash your freaking hands, and have a good night, everybody.